Hey there, Alex here. Welcome to another episode here on Sweet Spot Soul. It's been a little bit of a few days off. I just appreciate your grace in waiting for me to put out this part 3. And I tried to put out another video, and I honestly, I took it down. I noticed that as I was speaking, I was not in my full power. It's going to sound strange, but it's such a big part of this journey is stepping into that power and holding that power. And I found myself making a few too many excuses for myself for for my stance on things. And so I just wanted to say, for those of you who did see it, I actually got a lot of thumbs ups on it, and I appreciate that. But if you're wondering why I took it down, that's why. I watched it, and even though there was an error in the beginning, which I don't really care about, I found myself saying something a few times, and that was what seems to be true for me. And so I wanted to go ahead and preface this with it. For some reason, it just seems to want to come out that when I say what seems to be true for me, it's because I believe so wholeheartedly that a big part of collapsing duality is not being in position, a steadfast position about things. And that means being teachable and open as we unlearn the things that are no longer true for us and learn things that are, and come to know from source things as well. And so what seems to be true to me in this limited physical body with my 5 senses and the mind that I have and what I've learned, it's just a way to maintain an open stance and not a rigidity that I then need to defend because my position is strong, and so on and so on. So I don't need to fight, and then I don't get frustrated. And this is a big part of collapsing duality, coming into the space of non-judgment and no preferences for things to be a certain way, to be comfortable, and not needing to manipulate things so that I'm comfortable and so that my world, the circumstances fit the way I think things should be because of my beliefs. And so I don't know why I just started this video this way, but I think that there's hopefully some value in that for you as well as you move forward, learning new things, that it's important to maintain an openness. But I also had captured that, or noticed that I had said that a few times, almost in a disempowering way, as if I didn't have a stance. And I do have discernment, very strong discernment of what I have come to know, what I have come to experience for what that I believe is true for me. And that's also an important piece. And it's an important piece about this balance. As intuition comes in, and it may challenge some of our belief systems, we have to feel into that and then move into the masculine and then run that through. What do we have? And am I in some sort of an internal argument with like how source is seeing this and how I am seeing this? And that's sometimes what we need to reconcile. Okay, so let's get into today's topic, which really is this part 3 about transmuting, or really moving into this next phase of collapsing duality, coming into a wholeness, coming into the oneness, and seeing you, of course, as a child of God, of source, and becoming a co-creator. So again, working on these balances of masculine and feminine, collapsing duality from within, so that you can then become and house soul, that 4th, 5th, and 6th dimensional level of living, which is the soul. The oversoul, by the way, is 7, 8, and 9, but we're not going there right now. So 4, 5, and 6 is this soul embodiment that we're working through. And so as we work in the 4th dimension, again, trying to collapse all of the distorted belief systems that we have, negative programs that we have, ways of being that have been faulty, the core wounds and unprocessed traumas and emotions that haven't yet been processed. All of these things here in the 4th dimension, as we correct, we collapse that up into the 5th, which is a mirror that's watching and holding all of these things within it. And on the other side of that mirror is where that 6th dimensional non-physical higher self is the perfect complement to everything that you've created here, whether distorted or not. It's the complement opposite of that. And so those collapse together. Now, the last two, part one and part two, we talked about working with these fear-based energies in order to collapse this duality from two different levels. And I guess I'm kind of coining that there's three. They're not in any specific order. It depends on what's coming from the outside, that maybe your twin's coming in and triggering you in some way, or has run, and that's something else to contend with, or there's back and forth going on, or you're in the dark night, or a number of dark nights, or there's stuff in your life that's happening. There's just different levels of how we're able to deal with the energies and transmute from fear to love. So I talked already about the reactive, some of those lower phases when we're really in deep desire, or we're in grief, or we're in shame for the way we're acting, or in guilt for that, or fear, all kinds of different things, even pride. It should be this way, it should be that way. A lot of these lower feelings, anger, and so on, they can be dealt with in their own way. So there's a lot of reactive stuff going on when we're dysregulated. That's level one, or at least that first video that I did. The next level would be at times when we find ourselves in the middle, where it's very interactive. We're interacting with life that's triggering us or coming in certain ways that make us feel off, or that we need to work with it. And so we can be more, a little bit more mindful, and we start working with the masculine, feminine energies. That was level two, or the second video that I did. And then this next one that I want to talk about a little bit here today is what I'm considering proactive. So again, in reactive, interactive, and proactive. And this is where you're going to find, and I have a lot of people that I'm working with actually fall in this level. And again, none of them are hierarchical than the other. You may find that as your frequency rises, yes, you have less and less reactive, a lot more interactive, and then certainly getting proactive when you've kind of really in a groove. So what I'm finding is a lot of the people that I'm working with are in those middle and that third kind of tier in terms of the interactive and proactive. And so what's happening in this, the way I see it, is where there's a lot of balance going on. There could be some regular or very regular, really any range of activity that's happening with the twin coming in, but not necessarily fully triggering, or you're not, it's a stuckness. It's a feeling of, okay, like I'm okay, I feel pretty balanced. Like there's a few things I know I could work on, but I don't feel like it's progressing, or this has been going on for years and I'm moving forward. Or like I had one gal who married a long time, been having interactions on a regular basis for a number of years with the twin, and just feeling kind of stuck about what to do next in a way, but also not uncomfortable, not highly triggered. And so this is where the proactive work can really come in handy, where you really want to stir up a little bit more. And this is when in the beginning I was saying, you don't necessarily want to do Kundalini breath work when you're in reactive mode, because you're already dysregulated and you don't need to push more Shakti energy up the spinal cord through your chakras to try to get any more out. It's all out for that you can handle in the moment if you're dysregulated. That's why I say don't do it then. But certainly in the other two levels, it can be really helpful to move things along. So Kundalini breath work, this would be work such as from like Dr. Joe Dispenza. He does this to really, really push that energy up through the spine and activate the nervous system to try to increase that nervous system and release the things that are unlike, that are out of balance, that are not true. And so he does a lot of work. There's plenty online. There's also a guy, I forget his name, I think it's Breathe with Sandy, Breathe with Sandy. He's got a channel on YouTube that is fantastic. I'd used it a little bit earlier on, and then I had some other work that I was doing in terms of breath work, but he's got all kinds of breath work. So that might be something to check out. Another type of breath work that can really, so again, when you're being proactive, you might want to consider this, because it's going to start blowing out some of the other deeper, finer things, and get, really try to pull up any extra things that haven't come up from triggers in your life or from circumstances in your life, or perhaps you're just you just can't see those final layers. And that can really help to dislodge that and get things moving again. If you remember when your Kundalini was likely activated, if you're on this journey, then it was activated, then you can feel that everything that's unlike you was just kind of pushed out into the field and then had to be dealt with. And that's kind of what put us on the floor in the beginning. And so then the heart activation happens, but then that heart can also close back down along the journey as well. So we can get proactive around working with the heart, working with addictive energies that might still be lingering, a heart wall, that's a wall of different emotions that can be stuck around the heart. I talk about these on my page on the sweetspotsoul.com. It's just a page with the offerings that I do for this channel. And of course, Sweet Spot Power is my regular channel, or not my channel, it's my regular website, sweetspotpower.com. And that channel is under my name for the YouTube. But in there, I talk a lot more about, and on the website, there's a lot more about that heart wall and some of the work that I do proactively as well. I'll talk a little bit more about that. But another type of breath work that I think is really excellent is called, it's called holotropic breathwork. And this is another type of rhythmic breathing that oxygenates the body and also can really, really release a lot and help you come to know some things that you may not have realized. I had done this the first time in 2017 by myself in my office, laying on the floor, and it was the most intense experience. And I realized something so deep, this really deep shame that I had repressed as a child. It was something that I had actually repressed completely out of I couldn't handle how I felt about myself when I made this decision in my mind about a situation, about a decision I had to make in life way too young that I shouldn't have had to make. And I couldn't live with it at that age. And I repressed it and pushed it down. And it came up in this breath work. And I'd actually even made up a whole different story and projected a whole different story all my life, and was a victim of this story, which wasn't true either, but it was because I couldn't even manage how I felt about myself. And I wondered so deeply why I felt so broken for so long and why I didn't like myself, let alone love myself. And so that breath work, that holotropic breath work really, really made a difference in pulling that up for me to then see. It brought it from the deep unconscious to the conscious, which then allowed it to process. And all it needed was to be seen, just to have the light shown on it and some love for the little girl who decided that incorrectly for herself. And so that's what this work can really help along with. So breath work is huge. Another thing is somatic body work. I don't have a lot of experience with this, but I've heard amazing things about it for actually releasing different trapped emotions and traumas that are stored in the body. I do that energetically with the work that I do, but just manually doing the somatic body work, I believe there's a lot of different things, resources available. You might want to take a look at that as well. So these are just some ways to like really loosen up and shake up the trapped stuff and some of the core wounds and things. Another thought I had is journaling. So I worked with another person once, and they called it a catalyst journal. And I'm not sure if that comes directly from Law of One, from the raw material, but it's really part of, as I was sharing with you before, the spiral, right? So when you're working on knowing thyself, right? And accepting thyself. Accepting yourself, of course, is the feminine feeling, allowing things to be, and so on, which is part of this, this work that we're doing. Allowing these feelings to move out of us completely and then come to know ourselves would be then to take it to some of the self-inquiry questions and so on. And that's where the catalyst journaling can be really helpful. Again, when we get these together, that's when you become the creator. That's when you become the perfect vessel that's more and more able to process what's coming through from the soul. And then we use our intuition and our discernment, and we take action to become that, to make manifest through the soul as an instrument of the soul. That's, again, this is the big goal of inner union. So to catalyst journal would be where you're actually writing down, okay, this happened today. It really triggered me. So you write down what that trigger is, and then you write down what you were feeling, the emotion that you processed at the time when you were feeling it. You write those down. You might even look at the chart of emotions or the scale of consciousness, kind of see where you were, how you reacted, and just kind of write it out, bring it to light. And then you can even recreate and write out how you would like to have handled it or how you would handle it the next time. So you can step up into that next layer of that, that circular up spiraling and collapsing of these distorted beliefs and programs and so on. So you're, again, just taking a little extra time to write it out. It's, again, none of these are necessary, but they are very helpful when you're, again, feeling in that place where it's like, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm pretty balanced. This is still going on. I don't feel like it's progressing. I'd like to get this done. And that was really how I was at a certain point. And I was so, so grateful to have found the work that I do, which is the last thing I'll bring up, of course, optional, but incredible. And the reason I love it so much is because of what I can do with the mind maps, with your subconscious tuning in together and actually decoding the negative programs and the limiting beliefs that those programs are stacked on, and then the core faulty beliefs, or otherwise known as core wounds, things that we've taken on from our families, and then even faulty core identities, which can be completely inherited or from our first 7 years of life. And so we actually decode and lay out all of these different things and all the associated emotions, reverberations, and things that are holding it together. And this whole operating system then, which is a lens that we're seeing things through, can then be dismantled. It's all coming to light as we work together. You get to see these, how they all stack together, and then we take it all down. And then we actually treat the gaps in the subconscious mind, since we've taken out a bunch of different faulty beliefs that could be wired into other belief systems. We take that all down, and then we defragment and kind of close and tighten up those spaces that we just created so that your mind can continue to operate really smoothly. And that's just one of so many, like, infinite different ways that your subconscious might lead to undoing, uncreating a lot of the things that are keeping us, again, in that lower, in those just not fully, what's the word I'm looking for? Where we're just trying to collapse, again, that duality and moving up the scale. So we're removing the faulty beliefs that are creating the negative emotions that get trapped, and so on and so on. Okay, so those are a few different things I wanted to share. Hopefully that can just, and again, there's so much more. So there's a video on Sweet Spot Soul, and I kind of talk about some other things that I also do proactively to help you knock some things down. And in some cases, it can be reactive as well. And when you're really, really, really triggered, sometimes it's nice to have to be able to just remove some of those, the loudest emotions, just to be able to function and get back to living life a little bit sooner, where you can then get more proactive on your own. So yeah, so that was the level 3 that I wanted to share. And I'm hopeful that this is helpful. And if you guys have ideas that you think are helpful, please write them down in the comments for sure. And any other questions that you might have about this. I'm going to, again, be diving deeper into some of the specific emotions, always more about transmuting and different ways that we can come into balance and come into a really beautiful dance of the masculine and feminine as we collapse duality, come into inner union. And, really that is reuniting with your divine counterpart, right? Which is you, which is the soul, and housing that soul. And that's when the physical twin also comes in. So in the next video, I think that I'm going to do right now, I'm not changing. I think this next video, I want to talk a little bit more about maybe some different ways to continue to remind yourself that you are one, that you and your physical twin are actually the same soul, because that is the thing that pulls us out constantly, and is, I believe, probably the most important piece to be able to continue to work on yourself and really make this thing happen. It's not about attracting the twin in, it's about getting your focus proper on you so that you can maintain that balance when they come back in, and stay in permanent union when that happens, if that's what you choose. Okay, so stick around and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on that one. And again, give me some of your ideas. Give me a thumbs up so we can reach more people. It seems like these are really helping a lot. And I want to thank you so much for your comments. You guys have been amazing, amazing. And I'm so glad that my crazy ideas are actually helping this work for you, that are helping some clicks happen for you. That just means the world to me. And that's the reason I'm doing this, honestly. If I could have avoided coming onto, into twin flame land, I would have. But this was what my soul wanted for sure, and put me through this for. was to help you guys and to use the gifts that I have in terms of the things that I've learned in the past, my past speaking and so on, to try to get this across and help as many of you as possible. So thank you again for your attention and for your comments and for your loyalty and your trust as well. I've been working with many of you and it's just been incredible. So I hope to work with more. And until next one, have a great rest of your day.